So, what I want to bring to y'all attention, nice Soul Tribe and viewers, that if you look and you will notice there is something different about this picture, okay? You will notice that the wife on his left has a sign, is a sign that identify her of being not human. You see, this pharaoh has, in my understanding of what's being conveyed and said, is that it's showing a human wife, and as you would notice over her head, it's a extraterrestrial connected to her head. Now, out of all the head gears and headrests and crowns for the feminine, none of them shows any head crown or head attire likened to hers. You see, that, as you can see, shows the body of a reptile or extraterrestrial being connected to her head and sending the rays. You see, the rays, the three rays that's connected, that shows you the power of three. You see, look at the three lines that's connected to her head. And if that is a feather, above that feather on her head is a extraterrestrial face. We don't see that on this pharaoh here, Osiris. We don't see it on the sister wife. But on hers, look at her face. But on hers, she's different. She's been signed by a seal. She's been given the seal to identify with her extraterrestrial genetics, if you will. You see. And even if you notice in her feet postures, that the one on his right feet line up. And if you look at hers, you would notice that her feet sticks out. The left sticks out a little more than the one on his right. And they appear to be holding hands, but she has something that appears to be in her left hand. You see? They're holding hands, but you don't see anything on the wifey, the wife, the pharaohette, the pharaohite. My word that I give, you don't see nothing in her hand clutching, but on the left, she has something clutching in her hands. You see, these signs are here for a reason. You see, all these signs are here for a reason. If you look again, nothing is showing any extraterrestrial connection in the ethers, or for this pharaoh here. But we know his origins because all the pharaohs are. But for her, it's more pronounced and it's seen and it's known and it's shown. She is extraterrestrial origin, and she's melanin.
What's going on, Ammonites? Back at you on Ammonitology. I had just revealed to you signs that was brought to me by the ancient ones, and the ancient ones brought something to my attention that baffled me. And what was revealed to me is that in the story regarding Jesus breaking the breads, having 2 fishes and 5 loaves of bread, the mystery behind this is that when he prayed and broke the bread, now mind you, anytime that you have 5 loaves of bread, right, and you break 1 loaf in half, that become 2. So if you go by 2, 4, look, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. That's 10 pieces. Right? Now, understand that the mystery behind this is 10 represents a cipher. 1 and a cipher. Because the 1 represents the Christ himself. And the O represents the halo, the circle of the sun. Now mind you, you already have 12 disciples, because when he broke the 5 loaves and gave it to the disciples, it's 12 disciples. It didn't say that the loaves broke and it was 15, 20, 25. It says it was 5 loaves and he broke it in half and gave it to the disciples. It's 12 disciples. Let's do the math. 1 and 2 disciples makes 3. 3 and 10 gives you the power of 13. Now understand that the 2 fishes represents the Pisces sign. The 2 fishes represents the Christ sign. The 2 fishes represents the fish. Because you would notice that in church it would show the saints showing the opening of the vagina. The opening mouth of the vagina that forms the fish, and then the legs of the woman, the womb. The holy realm, area, portal, spacecraft being crafted in that space is what a woman have, is a spaceship, because she ships forth life in her crafting area that craft life inside of her. This area is sacred. Now mind you, stay on task. Being that the 2 fishes represents the Pisces sign, it's holy and it's sacred. Because you will also understand that the connections between Christ, because again, there was no Jesus. That's the name that y'all use, is Emmanuel. So I'm gonna call the original name. So if I tell you my name is Amir, and you tell me my name is Thum Thum Thum, that's not my original name, because it was given and it was said that a child would come and his name would be God is with us. I'm just using this as an example. So God is with us is, let's say that's what Amir means. And all of a sudden it goes outside of the ethnicity of the name. One being the Hebrew name, Emmanuel was Hebrew. The other one is not Hebrew. The name of, hold on 1 minute. The name of Isa, Jesus, is not a Hebrew, is not a Hebrew word. Okay? So I just want to be clear on that. Now mind you, Egyptology been around longer than Christianity. Christianity is a newer made up religion. Don't take my words for it. Do your research. Now mind you, who else had this fish in the story pertaining to Set, Osiris, Isis, and their sister wife? When Osiris was chopped up into how many pieces? 13. And the main one was thrown in the mouth of a fish. Was ate by a fish. Now use the word ate, because if you understand that when you say ate, A-E-T, phallus was thrown in the mouth of a fish. Now we talking about the mouth of a fish. The fish represent the womb of a woman. The fish represent that life, the portal. The fish represent as above, so below. The fish represent 6 and 9. Virgo and Pisces. As above, so below, which forms a number 1. For he who's him who has this astrological alignment, that has the Virgo and also the Pisces, that complement each other, which is the equal sign. And the equal sign itself is an ancient sign, which is the connection, which is the form of the one capped off by, remember, the realms, the heavens, and the earth. And the one in the middle, which gives you the eye. You see? So when the fish swallowed or ate, as it says, the phallus, the women was able to find it. You see? Because it was 13 pieces. The 14th one, as it says, is recorded 14, right? I explained to you about the 14, right? Or who the 14 and what this 14 is, and how it also goes back to the painting that shows the 1 and the 4. But in ancient Egyptian time, it talks about the 14th piece again, and that one being in the mouth of a fish is coded. You see, when you're in the mysteries and you have beings from different planets code talking, the message can only be unlocked by a seer or by divine source that's given one the information in part, as the ancient one is given me to reveal to you. The story about the Jesus, as y'all call him, having 2 fishes is also the 12 constellations, because the disciples represents the constellation, the 12 constellation, and the sacred one represents the Pisces. The Pisces breaking up and feeding the masses, thousands. So understand, this is where a lot of the stories that was taken from ancient Egyptian time that talks about this one who will come, this Christ type, the 1 in the 4. The 1 in the 4 goes back to Bethlehem. The 1 in the 4 goes back to ancient Egyptian time. The 14, the 13th one, the Holy One, and the 1 being the phallus. This 14 also is coded by 13 and the hidden one. You see, the bread, the loaves of bread. Now when you go in the store, you get a loaf of bread. But in ancient time, they had loaves, big loaves. So if you break it, because it said it broke. It didn't say it broke it in 2, 3, 4s, and 5, so it broke the loaves. If it's 5 loaves, intelligently, you know that anytime you break something, it's just a simple break. So one item broken up, it becomes a half, it becomes 2, as I just explained to you. So 2 times 5 give you 10. 1 in the cipher, the 1, the complete number. 10. You have 10 fingers. 10 stop and open the door with 1 and 11, 12, 13 with the 1 and again. But the reason why 10 is a number of completion, because you got 1 to 10. You got 1 to 10. So understand that 10, to recap it to you, to understand, representing the constellation, also representing the 10 and the 12 disciples, coded because you know at the round table was 13 people at the round table. So in essence, it's also talking about this 13th one, because you have 12 disciples and Christ, Emmanuel, represent 1 and 12 is 13. But doing math, 1 and 2, 12, 1 plus 2 gives you 3. And the 10 itself, 10 plus 3 gives you your 13. The 13-1. So understand that these signs, it has been hidden and to be revealed. Because if you understand, I'm going to put in here, that the fish that swallowed the phallus is a sacred fish. Here's the picture. So we're talking about a sacred, hidden act that has been done, that has been activated, that has been futuristically happened. Because when ISIS contract reached off, who gave them information on how to resurrect Osiris and to find this 13-1, this 13 phallus, the 13 piece, she got her sister wife, and that's when they did the necromancy. This is how you have the resurrected penis. See, when you say resurrection, it's the erection, the resurrect of the phallus. This 13, taking ancient Egyptian signs and encoded it into the biblical, which is the biblica, which represents the book. Excuse me. Biblica means book, right? It's Greek, as I explained to you. Bible means biblica, which means books. Greek for biblica, which means books. So the books of ancient Egyptian time coded in the mystery to talk about this Heru Christ type one. Stay tuned for more on our mythology. And the rabbit hole is deep. You have to move the veils from your eyes to really see and understand the signs that's been given. Because a lot of these things has been hidden and awakened to a time. You see? Hickory dickory dock, the mouse went up the clock. Understand that the clock represents 12. Everything goes back to the 12. You see? And the mouse represent a lot more than, because the mouse is looking for the cheese. You see? You know, they take a picture and they say cheese, smile for the camera. But you have to understand that there's a deeper mystery inside the smile. Just as the smirk of Mona Lisa. She's smirking, she's smiling, giving that ghetto smile, as they say. But it's a mystery hidden in the known. You see? Do your research study. Get back to your libations. Get back to spending more time with your altar. Get back to spending more time with your inner self and contacting that voice that's contacting you. And know that when you, first of all, when the student is ready, the master will come.
It states here in the scriptures. It says, as evening approached, the disciples came to him and said, there is a remote place and it's already getting late. Send the crowds away so that they can go to the villages and buy themselves some food. Jesus replied, they do not need to go away. You give them something to eat. We have here only 5 loaves of bread and 2 fishes, they answered. Bring them here to me, he said. And he directed the people to sit down on the grass. Taking the 5 loaves and 2 fish, and looking up to heaven, he gave thanks and broke the loaves. So that tell you just what I said. There's 5 loaves, and any time that you break an individual loaf, it becomes from 5 to 10. You see? Then he gave them to the disciples. Now, as you can see, it shows the yoni, which represents the vajayjay. This is in the circle within the circle in the middle represents the womb, the vajayjay of the woman. You see? Because we know that you can see from the circles what represents the buttocks, and that which is also connected that forms the fish. And as it states in the ancient text that the fish swallowed the what? The fish swallowed the phallus. Alright, so as we can see, the Medjed were a kind of elephant fish worshipped at, however that's pronounced, in ancient Egyptian religion. The fish were believed to have eaten the penis of the god Osiris after his brother Set had dismembered and scattered his body. A settlement in Upper Egypt, her Medjed, was named after them. Now, they considered this fish to be sacred. This is a sacred fish. You see, being that this fish is sacred, it so happened to represent the vagina of a woman, and the phallus entering into this sacred worshiped fish. Now you can see the similarity and how it all connects to identify with this chosen one futuristically. Being in a coffin represents one being confined and being released at a set time to awaken into itself, to a higher mystical, magical aspect of itself that cannot be pronounced by names in terms of identifying what it is. It just is. It's whom he is. And one having this ability to be able to have the ability, as we call it, sacred sex magic. But it's not a magic, it's just ability that one has.